Tonight, minority tears into Vice President Dr. Bawumia, labeling the government clueless in arresting the free fall of the city.
We want to use this opportunity to urge the Vice President to quit his offbeat dancing on the campaign trail and focus on the dancing city. There's a lot awaiting our country as a result of reckless mismanagement by Bawumia's government. In spite of the huge inflows of foreign exchange from the IMF and the World Bank into the Ghanaian economy, and I'm talking of billions of Ghana cedis, billions of US dollars, the government's action and its management of the city have continued to fuel steep depreciation with no end in sight, unfortunately.
With the MP set to return to Parliament on Friday following a recall for an emergency consideration, will the minority support a $150 million loan government is seeking to procure?
This is Top Story with Mensah.
Well, the minority in Parliament today have been tearing into the Vice President, Dr. Bawumia, labeling the government clueless in arresting the free fall of the city. The NDC minority have been warning the woes of the city is far from over and that they say the worst is yet to come. The city has hit 15 cities, with traders warning they are passing on the cost to consumers, which will mean a significant increase in the price of goods and services. Addressing journalists in Parliament this afternoon, the minority leader, Dr. Kesela Tefosing, decried the impact of the city's free fall on businesses.
In spite of the huge inflows of foreign exchange from the IMF and the World Bank into the Ghanaian economy, and I'm talking of billions of Ghana cedis, billions of US dollars, the government's action and its management of the city have continued to fuel steep depreciation with no end in sight, unfortunately. So far, the decisions of the economic management team, chaired by our Vice President, Bawumia, leaves a lot to be desired. The reality of the Ghanaian economy today exposes the credentials of the so-called economic whiz kid, who was marketed as the savior of Ghana's economy. Bawumia's credibility is now in tatters, completely tatters. The steep depreciation of the city has resulted in an increase in the prices of goods and services, as several businesses continue to revise prices upwards. This development would further worsen the plight of the already suffering Ghanaians. It is even more worrying and depressing to see constant media reports of escalating prices of goods and services as a result of traders' inability to service their loans and restock due to the rapid fall of the Ghanaian cedi. At this point, traders, especially importers, require more money to buy or import the same quantity of items that they could have previously purchased with less money. One can imagine the impact of this free fall of the cedi on businesses at Abosokai, in fact, at Kokompe, Okanshi, Mokola, Kejetia, and other major business centers across the country, including Edumako. As far as this is concerned, it is also important for us to say that as for those servicing their mortgages in Ghana in dollars, whilst they earn cedis, one can imagine the sleepless night and the anguish that they are going through as a result of the free fall of the Ghana cedi. I call it the dancing cedi. There seems to be no hope in sight, as the managers on the economy have no clue on how to address the free fall of the cedi in spite of the hype over the years.
Well, today, if you go to the Forex Bureaus, it's now trading at 15 cedis to the dollar. My colleague, Cedi Depreciation, went to Abosokai. He's been talking to spare parts dealers there.
Yeah, you import from outside Nigeria, but I since you import money, who be here saying to me, "Fire Sicano and Quaman on it." You say, "Yes, sir. Yes, so I normally call that dollars. Now, dollar also equanim pa, na affect you, Jumano.
Saying they affect him.
Okay. So I said, $1 no anymore. You have a free to guy or saying shipment more, dollars, duty, dollars. What I said, no one can say fire and say dollars. It's a cost raw. See the tibia important no, no coffee money buy no. And so, no, he say, we bet me a yan and sika no yan and faso. A bassa yan retailers no. Never say yes, so a TB tomb. Now, market, I slow.
He's saying that when the dollar goes up or when the cedi falls, they're unable to buy as much as they want to, and they are unable to even sell at the prices for which they can make profit. So if, for instance, you were taking 10 containers of products, goods, you cannot afford to even get as much containers as possible because your money does not have enough purchasing power to do that.
But the dollar no peja cost rusa. When you make round to win ton, and then nipa na eba beton scan be way. Ska krono ti upeja na sa da ho oba so wa won tumi to obesan kofa another way bia ono obetumi aye na ade na akọ na che se wa wo kra ne ma no me wa se scan kese na so ne ma no ntumi nton na che se wo ho kire o ti yesremo dollar no de kile hadwin have business mind for hadwin pa nti okoya we bia o betumi afa so aboama dollar system obi ya na hadwin.
Right. So not only are they unable to buy their goods, the citizens, regular, ordinary Ghanaians, transport operators are unable to purchase these goods because of the hike in prices. Now, recall that the various transport unions were threatening to increase transport fares, and this gives us a sense of why they are doing that. Because if they have to buy these parts that they need for maintenance to be able to run their businesses at double the prices, and fuel prices are also going up. Don't forget that. So, at what point do they reconcile the business they're doing, make some profits, and then, live some sort of comfortable life?
And that there is Sweetie Abochia from the Abosokan spare parts market. I want to bring in my parliamentary correspondent, Kweku Asante, who was at that minority press conference, joins me on the line right now. Kweku, the minority, they blame the vice president for the current depreciation of the cedi.
Yes, according to Dr. Kiselato Forsen, Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia campaigned strongly on his economic credentials and has now run away. They are urging the vice president to stop dancing on the campaign trail and get to work to fix the city.
To use this opportunity to urge the vice president to quit his offbeat dancing on the campaign trail and focus on the dancing city. There's a lot awaiting our country as a result of reckless mismanagement by Alhaji Bawumia's government. Ladies and gentlemen of the press, you recall that when the NDC government was exiting power in December 2016, under the leadership of then President John Mahama, the cedi was trading at 3 cedis 80 pesos to $1, compared to the current 14 cedi 95 pesos as at to the US dollars as at yesterday. And I'm hearing that today the cedi is trading at $1 is trading at 15.05 as at today. Shockingly, but not surprisingly, the vice president, who doubles as the chair of the government economic management team, Alhaji Bawumia, has told Africa Watch that the cedi has performed better under his supervision. This is a palpable lie, of course. Statements such as this from Alhaji Bawumia have significantly damaged his reputation, as many people treat them with contempt it deserves, or at best, comic relief. Many businesses and households have questioned the voodoo conclusions of Alhaji Bawumia on the fall of the Ghana cedi on his watch. How is Alhaji Bawumia able to look Ghanaians in the face and claim that the exchange rate of 14 cedis 95 pesos to $1 in 2024 is better than the 2016 year-end 3 cedi 80 pesos to $1? This is ridiculous and very embarrassing. The fact do not bear him out on the fall of the cedi, just as they do not bear him out on other matters, including the payment of nursing training allowances. It should be a matter of concern to the vice president that while Ghanaians hold the constitutional office that he occupies in high esteem, same cannot be said for his words. Many traders and businesses continue to wonder how Alhaji Bawumia arrives at these absurd conclusions and continues to bare his chest as a manager of the economy. At a time that prices of goods and services continue to rise, purchasing power is on the decline, businesses are relocating from Ghana, and many people have fallen into extreme poverty.
Kweku, did the minority offer any alternatives to fixing the problem?
Well, the minority say, of course, like they've always said, they are really on hand. The government wants some advice on how to turn the tide. But they've also been taking on some of the policies the Bank of Ghana itself has been implementing, which they also blame partly for the currency war. They say that if the Bank of Ghana is to withdraw those policies, the city will gain some strength.
Our checks, as of today, at the commercial banks and forest bureaus and businesses suggest that the following are some of the reasons why the Ghana city is dancing. 1, there is a strange policy on mixed cash reserve ratio recently implemented by the Bank of Ghana. 2, there's an increase on budgeted fiscal spending, which is fueling demand for exchange rate, in fact, foreign exchange. And let me take this again. There's an increase on budgeted fiscal spending, which is fueling demand for exchange rate. Simple put, the government is spending off budget so much that those that they are paying are using the money to purchase US dollars, and that is why the dollar is depreciating. There's again lack of confidence in the banking sector, resulting in currency substitution. Moreover, we've seen a lower cocoa production, resulting in the lowest export in 2 decades due to the mismanagement of the cocoa sector. There's an uncontrolled corruption, obviously, in the President Akufo-Addo and Alhaji Bawumia's government. We call on President Akufo-Addo to, among others, to 1, order his appointees to release the FX that they have stashed in their homes to the public so that there will be enough forex in the market. We also call on President Akufo-Addo to adhere to the fiscal consolidation and curtail excessive spending. And we also want the president and his government to address the lingering issues of the cocoa sector.
And Kweku, on Friday, there's an emergency recall of Parliament. That sitting is on Friday. A part of what the House is going to be asked to do is to approve a $150 million loan. The government is hoping that that will shore up the city somewhat. Did we get any clarity from the minority if they will be supporting this?
Well, Evans, the last time this came up on the floor, the minority opposed it. And that is what led to the Speaker referring back the loan agreement to the Works and Housing Committee to work with the Finance Committee to come to some conclusion. According to the minority leader, their position has not changed. They are still opposed to certain terms. After all, Parliament approved $200 million for garage and other such projects, but they say that they've not seen any evidence that government has properly expended it. It is for that reason that they are still opposed to this $150 million ring.
I think we've not hidden our position on this $150 million loan. We debated this on the floor, and we made it point clear that the NDC minority believes that there's a lot we need to uncover before we proceed to whether we should approve this loan or not to approve it. This is because we have evidence and we've been informed that the first $200 million on the same project, phase 1, was misapplied. So we have asked the committee responsible for Works and Housing and Finance Committee to do further work on that matter. The matter was debated on the floor. The Speaker referred the matter back to the committee. We are yet to hear from the committee. And until then, our position remains the same. So nothing has changed, and let us wait for them to submit their report. I'm not a member of the Committee on Works and Housing, and they are tasked to visit the site and ascertain some information. Until then, we can't comment on that. But as to whether that will make an impact on the city, I don't think so. You see, we've enumerated a number of reasons why the city is falling. Already, the World Bank has given us a number of loans and a number of foreign exchange, amounting to billions of cedis, billions of dollars. The World Bank, the IMF, has granted us $600 million in the last 6 months. Where is the money? So you can get so much forex or foreign exchange, but if you misuse it, there will be the cedi will continue to depreciate. So I cannot say that the $150 million will make an impact. Because clearly, if almost $2 billion cannot make an impact, what will $150 million do? It won't do much. It will not do much.
Well, let's get an independent view of what is happening with the city. It's a matter that is causing a fair bit of agitation among the business community. We've heard from Guta yesterday. Today, a fair bit of the community, as they deal in importing goods and selling it locally, have been complaining about this. Professor Lord Mensah is an economist, joins us on the line right now. And Prof, thanks for joining me on Top Story. We heard from the minority predicting that worse is yet to come. Based on what you understand of what is happening, you agree with that view?
Yes, I do. In a sense that if you look at the current situation of our economy, we're more or less, indirectly fixing the exchange rate. We have stopped servicing our external debt, which indicate that the true levels of demand of the exchange rate is not, being depicted as expected. So if you take agents who demand, the dollar, which will cause the price to go up, we are looking at the government, individuals, and businesses. But then as we speak now, government demand is not a reflection of what it's supposed to be because of the external debt suspension. And so obviously, we are fixing, the exchange rate indirectly. So we're waiting for us to resume, our external debt for us to, get the true level of the exchange rate and then the build up into inflation numbers as well. Now, if you take, what is happening now, I will attribute it to more of the market sentiment rather than the structural issues. For the structural issues, we've gone past that.
When you say market sentiments, what do you mean?
Come again?
When you say market sentiments, what do you mean?
Yeah, the reaction of, the next level of the dollar at any point in time. So if you are holding the dollar, as to whether to sell it or to hold it, depends on your anticipation on the dollar price in the next few moments or the next day. That is what is happening now. So we've gone past the structural issues, which used to be the balance of payment, crisis that we had, where our balance of payment depleted. So as a result of that, the dollar buffer went down. But now what we're seeing now is more or less, what we call self-fulfilling crisis, where, the expectations of the depreciation of the dollar is now being realized as a depreciation, because everyone who is holding the dollar is not ready to release it to the bank. And I can tell you that the dollars onshore is more than the dollars that are being kept by the Bank of Ghana itself. So the dollar is in circulation, but people are not ready to release it because they're storing it in a form of kind of asset because of the way, it's moving. So it's speculations and market sentiment that is driving the city as we speak now.
And the minority's position is that government itself hasn't done enough to tackle the problem. And of course, they hang it around Dr. Bawumia. Now, is this part, what we're seeing right now, is it a result of mismanagement of the economy?
Yes. You don't need anybody to tell you that it is a mismanagement of the economy. You can catalog all the countries that we have, bilateral trade agreement with, and you come to appreciate that we import more from those countries than we export to them. And that should tell you that we're not doing, our best in terms of, diversifying our export, in terms of ensuring that we move away from using foreign loans to manage our exchange rate. See, for the past years, if you look at the way we've been managing the exchange rate, clearly it has been a temporal situation all this while. We've been relying on foreign capital from the Eurobond market, which we've now been priced out of the market. We've been relying on cocoa syndicated loans. We've been relying on remittances from, our people who are out there preparing to bring something home. And effectively, that has been the way that we've been managing the dollar. And then sometimes other loans that we get from these Bretton Woods institutions. These are not permanent way of managing exchange rate. If you want to manage an exchange rate, you may have to look at the structure of your economy. Talking about, your export, how you diversify your export, and then move away from the persistent fiscal budget deficit that calls for, foreign financing. So from where I sit, I think, it has to do with mismanagement, clearly, on the ground.
It begs the question, does it not? Are there any short-term fixes to this problem?
Well, the short-term fixes is what, we're waiting for. That's the IMF money that we are waiting.
But the IMF money, the next tranche is just 360 million. Would that even make a dent?
We have been using that for the short-term fixes all this while. As we speak now, as of 2023 ending December, our balance of payment was around 260 million. They will get 300 million on top of it. It should be able to do something. But at the end of the day, that is not going to re-energize, the pressure on the demand that we have as we speak.
Let's put that in context. So even if we get this next round tomorrow, 360 million, we'll still need to spend, as it is currently, an average of $400 million just to bring in refined products as far as fuel onto the market so you can buy your fuel at the pumps. That alone is more than what the IMF is going to give us. That's just what we need a month. That will clearly not make the difference with it, considering that there's also a cap on what the Bank of Ghana can release onto the market to try and, shore up the cedi. Because of the IMF program, there's a cap and there's a ceiling on what the Bank of Ghana is allowed to do.
Yeah, so we should appreciate that the IMF, money, once it is released, is going to unlock other ancillary support. If you look at it from just numerical sense, you may not be happy with, the numbers. But, the ancillary support that we get once we get the IMF, program approval from the World Bank, African Development Bank, the credibility that goes with our agreement with IMF tries to unlock, other inflows. And that is what, we may be benefiting from. But, in a way, that is not a permanent solution to the exchange rate problem.
The permanent solutions, most people look at and say they are all long-term.
Yes, of course they are. But then that's how we've been, managing the economy. We've been relying so long on the short-term fixes. And we've used the short-term fixes as, in place of the long-term, fix that we're supposed to do. What do you think would have happened if we had, planting for food and jobs in full swing? That would have reduced some food import. What do you think will happen if we had, one district, one factory in full swing as we speak now for the past 7 years? What do you think would have happened? It would have, helped us diversify our export. So, effectively, we have been sacrificing, the long term for short term in terms of fixing our exchange rate problem.
Prof, thank you very much. And that's Professor Lord Mensah, the economist, on this subject of the free fall of the cedi that is currently becoming quite a challenge to many businesses across the country. What about you? What's your own experience with that? 055-1111-997. Newsnight in a minute.
I send them. You get them. I get them. I send them.
I get them.
I pay them.
Telesale cash. I get them. I take them. Telesale cash.
You get them.
I send them. Telesale cash.
I send them. You get them.
Telesale cash.
I get them.
I buy them. I take them.
I pay them. I send them.
Telesale cash. Telecel Cash.
Experience the ultimate convenience of sending money on Telecel Cash. Sending money from Telecel Cash to Telecel Cash is free. You can also make payments to merchants on all networks. Enjoy best value and total security with Telecel Cash.
Telecel, connecting energies.
Rediscover the taste of Ghana with every Wara Akono Sweet Ginger. These ginger candies, passionately crafted, are a true treasure of our land. Savor the strength and spice of ginger, known for its invigorating taste. Each candy is an explosion of flavors, reminding you of the richness of our Ghanaian history. With Akono Sweet Ginger, it's the pride of a quality product, locally made, that you're enjoying. Every Wara, the legacy of taste. Taste the authenticity of Ghana. Taste Akono Sweet Ginger. This advert is FDA approved.
Akono Ginger, feel the heat, spicy treats that can't be beat.
This is what it has come to, the moment that defines a season. It's the finale, and I want it all. I want all the gold and the drama. I want Pep and Klopp racing for the top. I want the biggest stars shining on Champions League nights. I want the fairy tale stories and the glory. I want the passion of Serie A. I want the flair of La Liga. I want the Premier League. I want the football finals. I want it all. Reconnect to catch every match live on DSTV.
Water is needed all day, all night. So, remember Syntex tank all day, all night. 7 years warranty. Select any color for free. In no de crack, in no de spoil. Call Accra on 0244 335 168. Kumasi 0505 555 666. Syntex tank. A strong, a tough. Water is needed all day, all night. So, remember Syntex tank all day, all night. 7 years warranty. Select any color for free. In no de crack, in no de spoil. Call Accra on 0244 335 168. Kumasi 0505 555 666. Syntex tank. A strong, a tough.
Hello, Ghana. Are you tired of the same old political rhetoric? Do you believe it is time for a change that truly represents the voices of our youth, women, and children? I present to you Nana Kwame Bediako. He is a visionary leader with a passion for making our country better through innovative industrial revolution. Together, we can change the political narrative and create a government that truly represents the interest of all citizens. Join this journey to build a better and inclusive future for all by contributing to our Save Ghana Fund campaign. Your support, no matter the amount, is not just a donation. It is an investment in the shared desire for a more prosperous, equitable, and better nation. To donate, visit www.nkb.com.gh or dial *887 *2024 #. Thank you for your support.
Good evening and welcome to Newsnight. Tonight, Electoral Commission puts blame at the doorstep of the executive and parliament as it dismisses Imani's claim of intentionally disenfranchising residents of Seoul in the 2020 election.
So when the ticket was created, we didn't have time for you to pass the PR before the polls could have voted. That's why they did not vote.
We'll get to hear from the Imani president who is accusing the EC of being dishonest. Also tonight, former President John Mahama vows to probe the gold for oil policy and unmask beneficiaries of the deal if voted into power.
We'll investigate the opaque gold for oil program and expose the actors benefiting from this so-called barter agreement. Reports reaching me suggest that a new debt burden is being created.
We'll get to hear from the CEO of Bost, who says things could have been worse without the policy.
So here comes this first quarter, where a lot of companies have declared their dividends, and there are a lot of portfolio reversals back to their home countries. Obviously, the demand for dollars will rise.
We'll get to hear from the Chamber of Bulk Oil Distributors, who hold a different view. Also tonight, kidney patients forced into a state of helplessness and distress following the sharp increase in the cost of dialysis treatment, as many say they are left with no option than to wait for their debts.
As for me, I don't have anybody. A guy saw me in Kumasi and then he told me to help me. If the price go high like this, I'm crying for the guy now.
The payment aspect, serious. We are going to die. We are going to die.
The chairman of Parliament Health Committee is shooting down calls for revision of the cost of dialysis treatment.
We should be able to cut some level of sentiment and be realistic. And in any case, it's not everybody attending dialysis need government support.
And in business, total value of mobile money transactions reached more than 570 billion cedis for the first quarter of this year.
And as well as Ghana opens WAFU Under-17 tournament with an emphatic 5-1 victory over Cote d'Ivoire at the University of Ghana Stadium.
And in our Clean Air series today, researchers from the University of Ghana take on the daunting task of finding the obstacles hindering the full enforcement of environmental regulations aimed at managing air pollution in Ghana.
Prosecuted, there are some interferences from those in power. And so it becomes very difficult to implement the regulations and the laws. And one of the things that has come up is lack of education.
We have details of that and more here on News Tonight. I am Emefa Apawu.
And my name is Evans Mensah. You want to join us with your thoughts here on News Night, 055-11-11997. Let's start with that raging feud between the president of Imani Africa and the Electoral Commission over the Sol vote in 2020. Well, the Electoral Commission is tonight standing its ground, dismissing accusations by Franklin Cudjoe, who obviously is the president of Imani Africa, that he intentionally disenfranchised the people of Central Kofi, Akpafu, Lolobi, and Likpe in the 2020 parliamentary elections. And you'll recall that on December 6th, 2020, a day before the vote, just when they were all about to vote, the Electoral Commission directed the residents in Sol areas to only vote in the presidential election.
Well, the constituents have been seen without a representation in Parliament, and you've been interacting with the Deputy EC Commissioner in charge of corporate services, Dr. Eric Boxman-Asare. He's putting the blame squarely at the doorstep of the executive and Parliament.
And he is making the point that they were left with no option than to simply tell the people there that they can vote there, because they cannot create the constituency within the time frame that they had before the December 7 elections. Listen to him. In the parliamentary elections.
That's now the Guan constituency.
Yes.
They are voting, and when we did the primary for the political parties, the elected candidate for the MPP elected a candidate for Guan. The NDC also elected a candidate for Guan. As we speak now, the Guan district, we have our district officer, we have a secretary, we have security drivers and others.
Registering people there.
Registering people. So they are voting to elect their member of parliament come December 7th.
So in 2020, Franklin Cudjoe of Imani, who hails from that particular part of the country, has said clearly that you disenfranchise people. Why do you disagree with that? It's obvious on the face of it that you did.
I think, Mr. Mensah, one thing our listeners and our viewers must know is that in 2020, the Guan district was created in 2020. Mm-hmm. And before the referendum that created the regions, the Central Kofi, Akpafu, Lolobi, Likpe, those areas were part of the voter region.
Yeah.
And they were carved out of the voter region, so they joined the OT region. A new district was created in that particular area called the Guan district. So when the district was created, the Electoral Commission was notified of the creation on 10th November. By law, when you want to create a constituency, you are supposed to lay a CI in Parliament. And when we prepare CI, we send it to the Attorney General. So when we heard that the district had been created, we put the CI, we had already prepared the CI, so we sent it to the AG advised. Just when we were about to go to Parliament, the information came that Parliament had gone on recess for the elections.
But that's something you should have known.
No, we shouldn't have. No, that's the Parliament's work.
But Parliament going on recess is public knowledge.
No, they go on. That's their business. Yeah. So the EC did everything to be able to create that particular constituency. And when people hear the EC was the one that disenfranchised, then they don't understand the processes. Because Parliament created the district. So when Parliament created the district, for the CI to even be laid and matured in Parliament, it requires 21 sitting days. And 21 sitting days, we know Parliament usually does not work on Saturdays, on Sundays, and on Mondays. So when you look at the time we were notified in writing by the Ministry of Local Government on 10th November, and to even lay a CI, before the CI will be laid, you have to send it to the Subsidiary Legislation Committee of Parliament. Once you send the CI to the Subsidiary Legislation Committee of Parliament, they will invite the Electoral Commission to discuss the document. That alone can take about a week to 2 weeks. So practically, the time the Guan district was created, it wasn't possible for the EC to create a constituency at that time. So anyone who makes the claim that the EC was the one that disenfranchised the Guan people doesn't understand how the system works.
You said you were notified by the Minister for Local Government
on 10th November.
In writing. Mm-hmm. But why do you wait for the political head to notify you when this is a constitutional action that has happened?
It wasn't possible for the East to create a constituency for them when they had not gotten the district. This is how our processes work. And we've also heard some people saying that, oh, why didn't you allow them to vote in the Jasikan?
I mean, but the creation of the district is a constitutional, it's pursuant to a constitutional provision.
Yes.
And once it's done, the Constitution lays out a clear process for activation of the EC's own processes.
We did. Looking at the time, it wasn't possible. That's why I made the point.
But is the reliance on the local government minister's letter to trigger your constitutional mandate is what has also raised a bit of questions there.
No, it shouldn't, because that's the procedure. Because I know the Guan areas were part of the Hohoi municipality. Mm. So as soon as that region as soon as they joined Poti, they were no longer part of the voter region. And in the Constitution, Article 47 of the Constitution, Article 47(2), it states clearly that no constituency can be in two regions.
I mean, those on the face of the law, it's very clear.
Then the Local Government Act 936 is also very clear that one member of parliament cannot represent two districts. So if the Guan people had voted in Jasikai, then Mr. Kofi Adams, Honorable Kofi Adams, would have become the member of parliament representing Jasikai district and also Guan district. If they had also voted in Hohoi, then Mr. Honorable, the MP for Hohoi, would have become the MP representing the Hohoi district and also the Guan district. So under the circumstances, the EC did the best it could do. So those who are trying to say, oh, what? EC has never disenfranchised.
But the people there were disenfranchised, at least in the parliamentary election. So where disenfranchisement simply means they cannot vote
if you want
in an election.
If you want someone to blame for that process, the parliament, the time the parliament began the process of the Guan creating the LI that created the Guan, the time they began the process, they should have known that it wasn't possible that a constituency would be created for them to vote in the parliamentary election. It wasn't possible. But because the nature of the EC's work, at times we don't talk about certain things. But clearly, anyone who blames the EC for what happened in the Guan, for them not electing a member of parliament, the person doesn't understand the processes of parliament and how constituencies are supposed to be created. Under the circumstances, because the EC was fully ready. And as I said, as soon as the information came, Parliament had gone on for the elections.
Initially, when the new district was created, wasn't there within the EC a sense that you could still proceed with the elections in that area, at least in the parliamentary around the time?
It wasn't possible because you needed to send a CI to Parliament for the Parliament Subsidiary Legislation Committee or the Committee on Subsidiary Legislation to invite the EC for the EC to justify the provisions in that particular CI. And in many instances, they will even make recommendations. And November 10th to December 7th, you were looking at about 27 days. And Parliament, the sittings of Parliament, you need for you to get the 21 days. At times, it can even be more than 1 month. So clearly, it wasn't possible. So I heard you say, Mr. Kujo, strongly saying that we have never disenfranchised the people of.
Okay. I want to bring in right now Franklin Kujo, who joins us on the line. Mr. Kujo, you just heard the Deputy Chair of the Commission make the point emphatically that if you track the constitutional timeline, it was just impossible that they could hold the elections on December 7 in 2020. And this isn't something that they did. It's simply a consequence of Parliament's own processes. And that if you have any concerns, as he told me later, and this will be played on PMS President 4, blame Parliament.
Well, good evening. So you asked him what they were doing since January 2021 up until now. What have they done for that particular provision? The so-called process of laying whatever they made Parliament, which got timed because Parliament was. What have they done about the people of South?
Forgive me, Franklin. I'm having a challenge with the connection to you. If you can kindly reposition so we can hear you clearly. The lines seem to be fading in and out.
Am I?
It's better. Yes.
All right. Okay. So I was asking a question. Between January 2021 up until now, when they issued their own statement, this pressure, what have they done in furtherance of that constituency of SAR?
He was categorical tonight when I spoke to him that the people there will vote this year.
Oh, the fact of the matter is that some sins have been committed. These are quite unpardonable sins. This is not a sin you go to church and pray over it and then you get atonement and whatever for. You've denied people for 4 good years. You issued a letter on the eve of an election claiming that the people cannot vote against all assurances given my elders that I called Jean Mensah to meet on November 27th, assure them that they were going to vote in the mother constituency. In fact, on the 30th, on the 1st of December, Samuel Tete of the EC categorically stated to the media that they will vote in their mother constituency. Listening to Mr. Bosmasari, I'm asking myself, so you promised some people that you are going to take them to a nirvana, a new home. But while you are doing that, you want to be sure that they are properly evicted from their home. Not necessarily evicted, but quietly taken out of their home. A home that is not destroyed. Nothing has happened. You promised a newer nirvana, right? You couldn't get to nirvana, and then you left the people hanging, dry, like refugees. What do? Don't you take them back to where they belong without any problems first? That's exactly what Mr. Samatata was trying to cure by saying that, look, we will allow you to vote in the mother constituency because we've realized our own folly of whether we were stymied by time or not. In any case, if you read the Hansard of 9th March 2022, categorically from pages 48 to about 63, a very beautiful exchange occurred in Parliament between the Attorney General, my good friend Mutaka, and then I think Kofi Adams. Excellent conversation. Please take a look at that. Where apparently the AG, whom I'm actually referring to here, not because I like what he did to us, by the way, but he advised them and told them that what they were doing was constitutionally unsound. It's true. If just Google that story, you see it there clearly. And those exchanges were that if you had even thought about allowing these people to vote in probably Guan, something I think is not practical, but at least it could have solved the problem for the meantime because we are neighbors anyway. There's no problem. Then maybe you would have saved the day. They were advised, they did not. So it's not as if there were no processes or ways to ameliorate the so-called constitutional crisis that have been occasioned. In fact, Mutaka did tell the Attorney General at the time that, look, you couldn't even annul elections in one constituency to create another constituency because they've done this in the past. Beautiful exchanges. This EC has been engaged in subterfuge. Even this pressure they issued along the way, midnight or so, they claimed they were changing it. and then said they didn't even know. They didn't even know about the process in Parliament.
I mean, they did not. I mean, in the statement, they were very clear with it. They quoted the constitutional provisions and they tracked the timelines to make the point that they simply don't really think about it.
Yeah, but they stated that they had no idea that even Parliament had been on recess. It was only the Attorney General that brought it to their attention. Then they changed that story and even confounded everybody the more, which makes me believe that these persons were precocious, intent on actually disenfranchising it. Nothing can be further away from the truth.
But there's no evidence to back that point.
It's not about evidence, Evans, I've given you a litany of the chronology of this issue. 27th, my people write letters, my others, I call Jean, they meet with her, assurances are given. 30th, the meeting is held. 1st December 2020, 30 EC also confirms you vote in your mother constituency. 5 days later, you say no. Who is engaging in subterfuge here? Is it the government or you? Who should I blame? You wrote that letter that we shouldn't vote.
You talk about
and they had the nerve. Evans, wait, and they had the nerve to say that I, a constituent, a citizen of SAR, is peddling falsehood that somehow my great-grandfathers actually caused us not to vote in the election. What is this?
No, the point they make is when you accuse them of disenfranchising the residents there, they say that's not their fault. It is because of the constitutional provisions triggered by Parliament.
Look, we can keep on going back and forth on this particular matter. What did they themselves do in order to ameliorate the issue? In fact, that's another point we should be hitting at. It's only a lawyer of the EC in Ho recently. Don't forget the case. We are still prosecuting the case in Ho, by the way. And it's only the lawyer who has said, we are sorry. It was a mistake. We shouldn't have done that. And we thought the people were having searched their souls for some remorse, only to turn around and claim that they had an audio that I'm accusing them. I've been accusing them from 2020. It's not today.
Yeah, I mean, talking about 2020, though, I mean, they say going into this year's elections, if they're going to make sure that the people that will vote, is that sufficient atonement for the things you say they've committed?
Probably not. You see, the NDC must be careful, because I understand the NDC thing is their stronghold. I've told Fred Agbenyo, you'll be sorry. You may win that seat, and the NPP will come back quietly and tell you that the processes leading to the creation of this whole thing in itself is fraught with problems, and you lose the seat. I hope if the NDC is listening, they should listen and listen clear. They should talk to the big lawyers in the party. I've spoken to a lot of them. I've spoken to lawyers outside. This is a big trap. They should be careful. The processes, look, when they even created the so-called district, you remember, they said SAR, in the schedule, they said SAR traditional areas. The other districts that were created were named properly so, districts. But these people said SAR traditional areas, which means that as we speak, that CI has not been amended, and the AEC is going on and on telling people, giving assurances. I would trust thinly anything any of the frontline commissioners of the EC tell me henceforth. I don't trust them. They disenfranchise SAR, and that's the story.
That's Franklin Kuju there. He is the president of Imani Africa. I want to listen to that full interview I had with the deputy chair of the EC, Dr. Boss Munasari, who deals with this matter comprehensively. And you can make up your own mind after you've listened to him too. And my colleague Emefa Apawu is here. And we're going to be moving to some very controversial subjects now that the former President John Dramani Mahama is raising, now with the gold for oil subject.
And he says he intends to investigate that policy and scrutinize those who have profited from it. Well, the NDC flag bearer also says he aims to uncover any irregularities associated with the policy to ensure transparency and accountability. We know that the gold for oil deal was introduced in November 2022 and exchanges gold for petroleum products, and also to limit the demand for dollars to buy them to slow devaluation. However, the city seems to be in a free fall despite the policy. You've been talking about it on Top Story. But Mr. Mahama is determined to probe the policy, which he describes as opaque. Listen to him.
We know that one of the impacts of illegal mining has been the destruction of our forests and our cocoa farms. We'll prevent the destruction of cocoa farms from mining activity and effectively ban the issuance of entry permits into forests for mining purposes. We'll investigate the opaque gold for oil program. and expose the actors benefiting from this. We'll investigate the opaque gold for oil program and expose the actors benefiting from this so-called barter agreement. Reports reaching me suggest that a new debt burden is being created because Ghana has not been able to keep up with its delivery of gold under the program. A portion of revenue from gold proceeds will be used to improve infrastructure and social services in mining communities. So wherever there's mining, we'll reinvest some of the revenue in improving infrastructure in those districts and in those communities.
Well, he's been speaking at the third transformational dialogue held in Sunyani. But the CEO of BOST, Edwin Provençal Evans, was on PM Express last night. A number of issues came up about this gold for oil policy, and he's been touting the policy, saying that the situation would have been worse without it.
World prices got to the stage where it got to in November 2022. Our local prices at the pump was anchored, and it was anchored very well because of the forex stability that G4O and other factors brought up. But because there are other factors also affecting the price of dollars, and you've enumerated it, there's a ceiling to what the Bank of Ghana can intervene in the market. So here comes this first quarter, where a lot of companies have declared their dividends, and there are a lot of portfolio reversals back to their home countries. Obviously, the demand for dollars will rise. So had it not been gold for oil that had held the fort for all this while, I can tell you for a fact that the situation would have been worse.
But CEO of the Chamber of Bulk Oil Distributors, Dr. Patrick Ofori, disagrees.
You look at the time, at the same time, the exchange rate was 11.8. The cedi has depreciated. So with this intervention, if you are to do a careful analysis of all these variables that we are talking about, I want us to speak to the data and let data and objective scientific analysis inform the discussion.
But based on that data, what's your verdict then on the gold for oil?
Based on that data, nobody can clearly say emphatically that had it not been that, it could have caused this.
Well, beyond this verdict, he was also clear that there are some government agents exploiting the gold for oil policy for their personal benefits. And I put a few questions to him to clarify if he knows any, and he can mention some names. He mentioned one name, and thankfully, the boss himself was on the show to respond to it.
Individuals within the government who are directly beneficiaries of the G4O program would do anything to prevent the other side of government from even listening to the private sector participation. If they want an equitable presentation, if they want fair and equitable market structure, they should allow each and every one of us to also seed our money to Bank of Ghana, so that Bank of Ghana guarantee us the same rate, guarantee the same tax waiver that the gold aggregators under the G4O enjoy, so that the other gold aggregators who are even willing to deal with the private sector can also be competitive.
Yeah, but you make, and I'll come to Provençal quickly to give you clarity on some of the concerns. But you raise a point that borders on something very serious about government players who may have an interest, who may not want your members and etc. in the business to thrive.
To be precise, I can mention Provençal's name. He's the key. He's the chief architect of that.
Well,
why on earth could anybody even conceive of the idea that even for Sentio's own, we should go to boss to...
Lord, I thank you that you are the healer.
To buy from Sentio, whilst people have started building relationship with them.
Dr. Provençal is on.
Yes.
He's on, that is why I've mentioned his name.
Oh, Patrick, this is not a fight. Relax. You were a member of the G.
Have no idea.
You were a member of the G4O committee when it started. You've been there from day one.
So what prevented other
meetings? You have been there from day one.
Patrick, if you don't mind, let me get him to respond to the issues you raised.
the hypocrisy should stop. Patrick has been there from day one. He was sat in meetings. He agreed to how government was trying to intervene when a crisis came. So for Patrick to talk the way he's talking, I am very, very surprised. Anyway, let me go straight to the point. If there's a crisis in a nation, who is mandated to resolve the crisis? It is government. And which entities can government use to resolve a crisis when it happens in a nation? It will be government entities, because when inflation hit 50% and petroleum prices hit, I mean, you guys remember, it was not a good sight. Our people were suffering. As a responsible government, what would the government do? The government will try to have an emergency measure to fix the situation.
So that's the CEO of BOST, Edwin Provençal there, after the accusation from the CEO of the Chamber of Bulk Oil Distributors, Dr. Patrick Ofori, that at least agencies that are benefiting from this gold for oil deal includes BOST. But really, this full interview is available on all our social media channels. You'd want to catch it as PM Express, yesterday's edition. But today, we're hosting the EC. But we'll stay a while longer on the election headquarters front, because this whole conversation was also being triggered by Mr. John Dramani Mahama, a former president. He's been speaking in Sunyai, mentioning that this is a deal that he'll be probing once he's voted into power.
And this is your election headquarters. It is brought to you by Petrosol Clean Fuel in full quantity, SEMA, the Chartered Institute of Management Accountants, AICPA and SEMA together as Association of International Certified Professional Accountants, the German Ozone Medical Center, Alternative Therapy, Dental Wellness and Beauty, and Chopbox Technologies, a convenient experience.
Well, religious leaders have been praised for their crucial role in promoting peaceful coexistence among the various religious groups and tribes in the country. During his Savannah regional campaign tour, Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia, the flag bearer of the NPP, commended the clergy for their efforts in fostering religious tolerance.
A member of the Methodist Boys Brigade. I was a strong member of the Methodist Boys Brigade in Sakasaka. And then today I am vice president, and I am also a patron of the Methodist Boys Brigade of Ghana today. So we are a very blessed country. Our country, Ghana, I believe, is very blessed. And we are blessed largely because of the religious tolerance that we have amongst the religions in Ghana. It's very special. Most of the time, we take it for granted. But in fact, that type of tolerance and acceptance of each other is unique to us. It is, for me, the heart of the peace that we enjoy in Ghana. Ghana is the most peaceful country in West Africa and one of the most peaceful countries in Africa.
Meanwhile, the NPP campaign chairman of the election 2024, Dan Kwekubutri, says Ghana needs a leader with competency to save the country, not based on tribe or religion.
So much propaganda. It's not about religion alone. It's not about tribe alone. We are looking for competence. Who can God use to save his people? Politics is pursuing policies and programs that will go to improve upon the conditions of life of the people. And we are saying, who can God use? We can't limit God. At any point in time, God can decide to use anybody to save and help his people. That is the God we serve. In Numbers 22, you know it better. In Numbers 22, you know it better. When Balaam was sitting on the ass, the horse, or the donkey, Balaam did not see the man of God standing in the way. It was the animal, the ass, who saw the angel of the Lord. And God made it possible for the animal, the ass, to speak to his master. That is God. Can we limit God? When it becomes necessary, he can even use an ass. In 1 Samuel 14:6, Jonathan facing the Philistines asked his armor bearer, who can restrain God for saving with few or many? You can't limit God. At any point in God, anybody who fears God and believes that his life is shaped by God and is prepared to fit into the will of God, to be of service to his people, that person, God will use that person.
That's the NPP campaign chairman, Dan Kwekubochi, taking us out of the election headquarters for tonight. And I think it's a good time for us to do business on that Bilam and us note. But when we return from business, we'll do our Clean Air series, and researchers from the University of Ghana are taking on the daunting task of finding the obstacles hindering the full enforcement of environmental regulations aimed at managing air pollution in Ghana.
Prosecuted, there are some interferences from those in power. So it becomes very difficult to implement the regulations and the laws. And one of the things that has come up is lack of education.
We focus on our dialysis series also a year on. And George Riafe. Hello, George. What's in business?
Well, Emefa, coming up in business, total value of mobile money transactions reached more than 570 billion Ghana cedis for the first quarter of this year. And Bank of Ghana increases dollar interventions for commercial banks, the cedi yet to respond adequately to this action. The business news on Newsnight is brought to you by MTN Business. Welcome to the new world of business. Kingdom Books and Stationery, Synthesis Tanks and Pepsodent, Herbal and Charcoal.
Can you hear it? The freedom in our songs, the sound of liberty that rings from Kaswa to Karaga, from Tamale to Takoradi. It's in the pestles that pound from coast to coast. It's in the busy offices, the crowded streets, and the noisy schools. It's in the wisdom of our elders and in the laughter of our children. It's in seeing how far we've come and looking at how much we can grow. It's in knowing that still Ghana go be. MTN.
Son, we are so proud of you for setting up this hospital. I really love those hospital beds and waiting chairs. By the way, did you import them?
No, Dad, I didn't. I actually got them from Kingdom Books and Stationery right here in Ghana.
Wow. We also bought our office supplies, safes, executive desks and chairs from Kingdom, and they gave us expert advice on how to set up our office.
Guys, that makes 3 of us. I also got our sofa and bedroom sets, plus our dining hall furniture for our new home from Kingdom.
Wow, Mom, that makes 4 of us. I usually get my stationery items from Kingdom. And my teacher also mentioned that our classroom furniture was provided by Kingdom.
So there you have it. Whenever you're thinking about setting up an office or acquiring furniture for your home, etc., Kingdom Books and Stationery should be your first point of call. With over 40 years experience in the industry, we stock and supply a wide variety of globally sourced office and home furniture, stationery and equipment. Visit our head office, Osu Akwaje, or our office near the Osu Stadium. We're also in Tema Community 1, opposite Olam SHS, Kumasi KNUST campus, UCC Cape Coast, and now at the Marina Mall, Airport City. Or call us 0302 764101, 764209, or 762792. Visit our website www.kingdomgh.com.
Well. How is your good life?
Mine has been great, you know. My entire family and I sleep under an insecticide-treated net every night, throughout the night, and wake up feeling sound every day with absolutely no mosquito bite.
My good life has been terrific. My entire family and I, we wash our hands with soap and running water before we cook and eat, and after using the toilet, we don't play with it.
When my wife was pregnant, I accompanied her to every antenatal session. She took all her medication, ate balanced diet, and gave birth without any complications. My good life has been smooth.
Let's all come aboard Good Life and live healthy and happy. Good Life, live it well. It's an everyday thing. Good Life from Ghana Health Service and partners with support from USAID.
Yeah. We have a new leader in town. OBRNT. Amafo. Madam was Sibebre. When him say my baby, maybe more charcoal for whiter teeth. More charcoal. Not only that, maybe lemon. More lemon. Zinc for fresher breath. More zinc. And fluoride for stronger teeth.
Introducing the new President Charcoal packed with more power with a combination of charcoal and lemon for naturally whiter teeth. Grab yours now. This advert is FDA approved.
December is just around the corner and our nation stands at a crossroads. Will we continue down the same path or will we forge a new one together? The choice is ours, but we need every voice to be heard. That is why the New Force is investing time and resources to educate and encourage everyone about the voters ID card registration. To all of you out there unsure if your vote matters, your voice matters. Your vote is your power and your opportunity to shape the future of our motherland. Don't let others decide for you. Don't stay silent. Get up, get out there and get your voters ID card today. Make sure you are ready to make a difference when the time comes. Don't delay. Act now. From the 7th to the 27th of May and on the 30th of May, you can replace all missing ID cards. Every vote counts. Your vote, your destiny. A message from Nana Kwame Bediako and the New Force.
Hello, my name is Mami Ekia, an entrepreneur and a mother of two. My work keeps me busy most of the time and sometimes it takes me away from my family. But the safety and health of my family is very important to me. As a working mother, I cannot afford to take any chances when it comes to matters of health. That is why I signed up for a family healthcare plan from Equity Health Insurance. My family and I have access to over 700 hospitals, clinics, opticians, dentists, pharmacies, and diagnostic centers across the length and breadth of Ghana. With Equity Health Insurance, I no longer have to worry about medical bills. Anytime a member of my family visits a hospital, Equity Health Insurance has got my family and I covered. What about you? Who has got you covered?
Call Equity Health Insurance on 050-660-7910 and talk to them about your family health needs now. Visit equityhealthinsurance.com for more information. Equity Health Insurance, here for you.
You're welcome back to Business on Newsnight. Now, the total value of mobile money transactions for the first 3 months of this year recorded some significant increase. Now, this was captured in the latest Bank of Ghana's second report with the first quarter of 2024. There is more in this report.
Data of Ghana showed that for the first 3 months of this year, total value of transactions reached 576 billion Ghana cedis. This represents more than 33% jump in terms of what was recorded in the same period for last year. Total amount of mobile money accounts held by commercial banks ending March this year stood at almost 19 billion Ghana cedis. Registered customer accounts from January to March 2023 stood at 67.3 million, representing a marginal increase from what was recorded in the first quarter of 2023. As at the end of March this year, the total number of mobile money agents reached 835,000. So, what are some of the major changes that have happened this quarter compared to the same period for last year? Transactions by agents to agents of mobile money went up by 5% to hit 171 billion cedis. Cash out transactions stood at 64 billion Ghana cedis, representing more than 2% increase.
And that is a Business Desk report. Now, the Bank of Ghana continues to take some steps to help deal with the current pressure on the Ghana cedi. Now, Joy Business understands that earlier this week, the central bank supplied the market with more than $50 million. Now, this represents some significant jump from the about $20 million that was made earlier this week. But for some market players, this is still not enough to deal with the current challenge. Among the commercial banks, they were selling a dollar at 14 cedis, 45 pesos. Now, some industry players have believed that the current challenge is fueled by excessive demand for dollars, but not backed by what some would describe as real business transaction and also the activities of speculators. Meanwhile, the Bank of Ghana advanced some $20 million to the bulk oil distribution firms under its auction program. This is to help them finance the imports of finished petroleum products onto the market. However, the Bank of Ghana pegged the selling rate at 14 Ghana cedis. Two other stories. The Registrar of Company, Jima Mawari, has described that her office is developing a new digital system to be deployed for the registration and other services at the office of Registrar of Companies. Now, she made this disclosure at the ceremony to launch the second phase of the Global Financial Infrastructure Program and signing of a new partnership arrangement with the International Financial Corporation.
It will have a very significant impact on revenue mobilization. Everybody is now doing digital. Online platforms, marketplaces, the juniors, and there are many. And almost everything that we need now is online. So it has a huge revenue potential. Now we have the draft legislation. But like I said, if Ghana alone decides to have its law drafted, it won't get anywhere. And if you look at the draft bill that we have done, we even have to ascertain
the liquidation of a company. Development of this robust ICT infrastructure is currently being developed by a consortium of 3 Ghanaian firms, and it will soon be deployed before the end of this. Now, this new software, when deployed, will change the way of doing business with the ORC immensely, since it would be a totally digital platform where walk-ins with hard copy documents to be scanned into the system to complete registration processes will be a thing of the past. The unique identifier would be the Ghana card for all Ghanaians and foreigners who are resident in Ghana who should have the non-citizen NIA card. With regard to
Jemima Ware is the registrar of companies. And the related development, the registrar of companies says from June this year takes steps to strike out of his books 65 registered professional bodies. Two other stories. The Association of Ghana Industries is calling for a relook at the second-hand clothing market in the country. President of the association, Humphrey Yim Dark, said there's a need for balance between the textiles industry and the second-hand clothing market. He was speaking at the launch of an evaluation document on social economic impact of second-hand clothes trade in Ghana.
We've all benefited one way or the other from this affordable clothing through the second-hand clothing market. However, further effect is on the local textile industry. And I've given you the scenario from the cotton farms down through the milling plants from the Akosobo, ATL, all the way down to events of today. And why are the local textile factories going down? They used to employ over 25,000 workers. Today they are doing about 3,000 workers. This is skilled. We all go to school once upon a time to attain one skill or the other. Skilled workers. And have ramification on taxes and on children and on generations.
Humphrey Daka is the president of the Association of Ghana Industries. And that's all for Business on Newsnight. Back to you.
The things that happen behind the scenes, yeah? Well, thank you very much, George Riafe. Well, let's focus on our dialysis crisis a year on.
Let's do that, because we're hearing from kidney patients tonight, and they say they've been forced into a state of helplessness and distress following the increase in the cost of dialysis treatment. According to them, they've been left with no option than to prepare to die. Now, in the first part of our dialysis series, features editor Richard Kodonyako tells a story of disappointment, anger, and betrayal.
Last year, 15-year-old Priscilla Sante's young life was cut short. Her dream of becoming a nurse unfulfilled, leaving a void in the hearts of many. Her mother's voice joined the choruses across the country in calling on government to reduce the cost of dialysis in order for many to live. Priscilla was not the last to die. Many have died, and countless numbers are in the queue waiting to die because they can't afford to pay the cost of dialysis. 33-year-old Salas Mensah teary after hearing the announcement of the increase.
$490 for a day, so in that week, when it comes to it, costs you about 1,000.
He briskly calculates the amount of money he would now have to pay in order to live.
As for me, I don't have anybody. A guy saw me in Kumasi and then he told me to help me. If the price go high like this, I'm crying for the guy now. So that is now my greatest fear.
I was working at GES. I came, a year I came retirement, and I came then this thing started. It has been a very hard because of the money aspect of it. And right now too, it has been increase. So it is not easy.
Gabriel Mensah retired from the GES last year. Shortly after his retirement, he was diagnosed of the diseases. The weight of this announcement is evident in his voice.
The payment aspect is serious. Serious. We are going to die. We are going to die.
Patients here are angered by this announcement. Their anger is sandwiched with the never-ending plea to government to reconsider its decision. For 37-year-old Jackson, government can't simply send them to their early grave. Something urgent must be done.
Even the people were dying because of the previous cost. They were not able to afford the costs involved. I don't understand the government. I don't understand adding medication, lab costs, and dialysis fee. Very difficult. So sometimes you think that, oh, Charlie, if you die, cry, it will be okay. So that your burden on the family and the friends will be over. And they use the money to do other things.
For these cocktail of stories told differently by different patients at the dialysis unit of the Cape Coast Teaching Hospital revealed despair, disappointment, anger, and betrayal by government.
It's kind of getting us more devastated.
For Thomas Vincent Khan, this is his 11th year being on the dialysis machine. He is surprised the loud voices that were raised by patients and other advocates could not get government to reduce the cost of dialysis.
Because already with the 350, we always struggle to even come to the hospital for dialysis. So for such an announcement, especially at the time that we've made a lot of noise asking for a reduction, even on the 350 that was being charged, and then we wake up and the next thing we are hearing is that rather the prices are going to go up. It has never been easy. I have been on dialysis for 11 years, and throughout the 11 years it has never been an easy road.
For each second that the dialysis machine here beeps, death keeps its eagle eyes on the patients, ready to snuff out the life in them.
It got to a time somebody came and told us that she wants the line to be removed because she knows she cannot afford the daily session. That was around 350 cedis per session. And then she told us we should remove the line so that she will just go and die because she cannot continue the session again. We did everything. We tried to source funds for it, but there's nothing we could do because the mind was made that she was fed up. Looking at she had children in the house and every week she keeps coming here pumping money, and then it seems there's no hope for her, so she decided to end it.
Head nurse at the dialysis unit here at the Cape Coast Teaching Hospital, Eunice Depreciation, says being on dialysis is like a death sentence and a lot of support is needed to help the management of the diseases.
Then sometimes, most of them, they come in the acute phase. So even getting the access, the temporal catheters, and then starting their first 2 or 3 sessions is a problem. So in these instances, management will come in so that we will start the dialysis as the relatives also go and look for funds to come and support.
Here at the dialysis units of the Cape Coast Teaching Hospital, many machines have broken down, compounding the problems of the patients. The patients now have to queue as early as 1 a.m.
2/3 of our machines have broken down, and then coupled with the stresses, they're already not feeling well and they have to come here as early as 1 a.m.
Unfortunately, apart from the cost that is even, giving us problems, you come in here and there are not enough machines because every day they are being new. They are diagnosing new patients so it means that the numbers keeps adding on. And unfortunately, when you come here at the Cape Coast Teaching Hospital, we're only left with just 4.5 machines.
Why do you say half?
I say half because there's one machine that somebody has to sit by it and then every 30 seconds, the person has to be present because it's not fully functioning.
Public Relations Officer of the Cape Coast Teaching Hospital, Fred Yanka, says the hospital will continue to support the patients as they go through these emotional journeys.
There has been a strict instruction that you don't send a patient out because he or she is owing. So even though some of these our patients are owing, anytime they come, we still take care of them, and we are still going to take care of them till something come in for them to get some funds to take care of their bills.
For every tear that drops, for each heart that bleeds, for every hope that's dashed, and for each penny that these patients, their families, and other benefactors spend in their attempt to keep these patients alive, they call on government to support them to live a little while longer by reducing the cost of dialysis.
Well, at the Confanochi Teaching Hospital, there's an appeal for support to begin a life-saving medication for children requiring dialysis treatment. And Nanabuache Dankwayadom has more in the following report.
The biggest challenge facing dialysis services in Ghana is affordability. The Confanochi Teaching Hospital, realizing the gravity of the situation, is ready to begin the treatment of dialysis for children. Professor Ochre Mensah is the CEO of the hospital.
I told you that we had 1.5 dialysis machines at a time. Today we have 4 dialysis machines. The hospital itself, using its IGF, has procured 3 brand new dialysis machines. We are waiting for them. There's a company that is giving us 2 brand new dialysis machines. We are also waiting. We are hoping that by the end of this month we would have about 12 dialysis machines running. One major thing we are looking at is dialysis for children. As it is, it appears that dialysis for children does not exist. Usually you do not have dialysis going on for children. And so it's one area we are looking at to give children the opportunity to live.
Professor Ochre Mensah says the hospital is seeking support from stakeholders to purchase machines for such treatments.
When the issues of dialysis came up and Kolebu was in the news in respect of price changes and all that, I remember in our discussion, if I remember correctly, that I made the point that we buy from the same source, the same supplier, consumables and all that. And so there's a need for us to also push our prices up. But Kolebu took that step. And subsequently, I think that the Fees and Charges Committee of Parliament have sat and reviewed the fees. But Kolebu are lucky to have, this is the first care group, subsidizing the payment for dialysis for patients. We don't have that. But it is understandable to an extent because about 80% of the dialysis cases go to Kolebu. And in large part was because we didn't have a lot of dialysis machines here at our end. I'm sure that when we get to 12, we are in talks with philanthropists, non-governmental organizations, corporate societies to come in and help.
We can hear from the CEO of the National Health Insurance Authority, Dr. Dacosta Boaji, who says implementation of the policy to assist end-stage kidney patients by the authority will cushion such patients in distress.
In fact, the money is available. It's just a mechanism. So, like I said, we're looking at 1st June.
After the 6 months, what happens?
Who knows? By that time, the report would have been ready. And it will not be the first time we go to Parliament to seek approval on our budget. But again, we don't just take decisions. We take decisions based on experience.
Well, Chairman of Parliament's Health Committee, Dr. Friayu, is, however, warning that any attempt to run dialysis treatment as a social intervention will collapse the existing scheme.
The prices should be relooked at. Like I said, you don't have to undermine the work of the subsidiary legislation. And that one, I would defer with you to speak to the chairman of the committee to let you know the considerations arriving at the new price. You understand? Yes. But I also don't support the point that government institutions must run at a loss and close dialysis. Virtually now, very soon, they will run under recovery and they will close up. And then you put all those needing dialysis in danger. We should be able to cut some level of sentiment and be realistic, okay? In any case, it's not everybody attending dialysis need government support.
Well, that's Chairman of Parliament Health Committee, Dr. Iwefree. Let's do sports on the 17th on the spotlight.
Yes, the tournament started today at the University of Ghana Stadium, and the Black Starlets did impress with a top performance, defeating Côte d'Ivoire by 5-1. Of course, the game took place at the University of Ghana Stadium, and it was monitored by Joy Sports' Lawrence Beidou.
Starlets of Ghana opened their Wafu B Cup of Nations campaign with an emphatic win over Ivory Coast in Group A. A Joseph Nabi first half brace got things started for Lai Kingston side, who would go on to clinch a 5-1 win at the University of Ghana Stadium. The win sends Lai Kingston side top of Group A with their next game against Benin on Tuesday, May 21.
Well, after the game, head coach of the side, Lai Kingston, was impressed with his boys' performance and says he's looking forward to the next game on Tuesday against Benin.
Our target is to take it a game at a time, make sure we dominate every opponent that we meet, and then make sure we qualify for.
Yeah, well, so that's it for sports.
Thank you very much, Ms. Bao. Now, political interference and lack of education emerge as significant obstacles hindering the full enforcement of environmental regulations aimed at managing air pollution in Ghana. Well, Michael Ashali is our air quality beat reporter. Here's more in the following report.
From industry and manufacturing contribute heavily to air pollution in Ghana. But close to half of the country's pollutants are attributable to road transport, particularly on urban roads. Former Director of Air Quality at the EPA, Emmanuel Apo, attributes this to the increased vehicle population and poor driving behavior.
Our attitudes on the roads are very bad. People tend to drive anyhow. If you don't drive well, mentioning vehicular maintenance challenges also there because of funding. People buy vehicles but don't have the money to maintain them very well. You have plumes of smoke coming out of that, and also you have wear and tear from vehicles that are not maintained very well.
In Ghana, there are still obstacles hindering the full enforcement of environmental regulations aimed at managing air pollution.
Ghana is known to have some robust regulations and laws to combat air pollution on our roads. So the question is, in spite of all these regulations, why do we have this issue?
Researchers from the Department of Biology, Environment and Occupational Health of the University of Ghana and relevant agencies gathered to identify these obstacles and how to address them. Dr. Reginald Kwanzaa is the lead researcher.
People are buying cars. There are more cars on our road than ever. Most of these cars are very old, have so many problems that can cause pollution on our road.
Participating institutions included the Office of the Attorney General, Driver and Vehicle Licensing Authority, Vehicle Dealers Association or Garages, and Motor Traffic and Transport Department of the Ghana Police Service. Political interference and lack of education emerged as significant hindrances to the enforcement process.
And for example, there are other issues of when corporates are prosecuted, there are some interferences from those in power. So it becomes very difficult to implement the regulations and the laws. And one of the things that has come up is lack of education. Most people don't know about the laws, what they have to do and what they don't have to do.
This story was a collaboration with New Narratives. Funding was provided by the Clean Air Fund. The funder had no say in the content of the story. For Joy News, Michael Ashale.
My name is Advertisements and I'm here with Emefa Apawu. We'll end with a fact-checking for today. Let's focus on some of the claims made by President Akufo-Addo at the opening of the 3I Africa Summit. Here is head of our research desk, Raymond Akwa, on the claims and verdicts.
Let's start with a claim on the value of mobile money transactions.
And transactions surpassing 1 trillion cedis.
The claim that mobile money transactions have surpassed 1 trillion is true. According to data from Bank of Ghana's Summary of Economic and Financial Data Report, the value of transactions at the end of 2023 was 1.9 trillion. We can now focus on the president's claim that some 44 million mobile money accounts were registered by the end of 2023.
With some 44 million accounts registered by the end of 2023.
The claim that 44 million mobile money accounts were registered by the end of 2023 is false. The president's claim is contradicted by data from the regulator. Indeed, the Bank of Ghana's March 2024 Summary of Economic and Financial Data report states that the total number of registered mobile money accounts is 65.6 million and not 44 million as quoted by the president.
And that's fact checking for tonight. You can find it across our social media pages. My name is Mensah.
I am Emefa Apawu. There's more when you log on to myjoyonline.com. Strong and sassy with the Nimwa Animador is up next. Please stay.